the challenges of children, just the inherent challenges of a child, whether they're yours or not, and then have them be someone else's, and then that dynamic, that is a lot, and that has nothing to do with being a real man. Okay, women will try to shame you into being a stepdaddy, and that's foolish. You can shame the shit out of me. I don't give a damn. I will not be a stepdaddy. That's me though. Listen, man. When it comes to being a stepdaddy, I'm gonna just talk straight. When it comes to being a stepdaddy, making that decision to date and seriously date and possibly marry a woman who has children. Okay, let's be honest. Nowadays, the older you get, the closer to 30 and beyond, that is going to be a very present reality. Okay, it's depending on where you live, it's almost damn near impossible to find a female that doesn't have kids. Okay, I understand that. It's not impossible though. I'll say that. I'll start with that. But it boils down to one simple thing. It's a matter of personal preference. Okay, because I see a lot of content going back and forth about the issue of dating stepmothers, being a stepfather, all that, everything surrounding that subject. And really, what it boils down to is personal preference. What standards, boundaries, what vision that you have for yourself, right? And there's no need for the emotions to get involved because it is a matter of personal preference. I see so much content and people getting their feelings involved, and they want to use their personal anecdotes and personal preferences as law and basically stamp that as law. They want to say, oh, well, my stepdaddy stepped up and he was more of a man than my daddy, or you're not a real man if you can't. You're a real man if you can take care of someone else's kids. That doesn't make you a real man. Let me just say that. Taking care of someone else's kids does not make you a real man. Not taking care of some and making the decision to not take care of someone's kids doesn't nullify your manhood either. Matter of fact, making the decision and standing on it is what makes you a real man, depending on the decision, of course. But being steadfast in making a decision, despite what public pressure, despite public pressure and public opinion, that is a very strong tenet of being a man. It's not the totality of being a man, but that's a very key part of being a man is being able to stand firm on your decisions. So being a stepfather does not make you a real man. Okay, making the decision to step away or not deal with a woman uh, because she has a kid does not make you a coward or make you less of a man. It makes you realistic and it makes you someone who is aware of what they want. Okay, me personally, now I mean it's easy for me to say because my kids are my kids. I'm not a stepdaddy. I don't ever plan to be a stepdaddy. I'm married and my kids are they're mine. Um, I always say, man, it's let's be real. Everybody on the internet is so pious and everybody is y'all are better than me. Everybody on the internet is way more virtuous, way more of a good person than I am on the internet. Kids get on your nerves. My kids, I love my kid, my babies, my girls are my life, my world. Okay, but they're they're challenging. Okay, at every stage there are challenges, especially if you got girls. Okay, strong willed girls the way that I do. Okay, now I'm not making my situation any different than anyone else's. Okay, but kids are a challenge. They are a burden. Okay, and when you say burden, a burden in the truest sense of the word, in that it is a responsibility that can wear on you. Okay, and that's just the facts. And any person that doesn't want to acknowledge that, or if anybody feels different, that has kids. Oh, I never. My kids are never. Whatever. You're better than me. Uh, Now, one thing I say about me and my wife, we don't drop our kids up. We don't dump our kids off on anybody. Uh, Now, thankfully, our kids are at the age where they can watch each other. You know, the oldest can watch the two youngest, and the two youngest can stay together and watch each other for a certain amount of time. So we blessed been that's the blessing of having your kids, and with the passage of time, you turn new corners, and you access newfound freedom. So that's what we're experiencing, and that's what me and the wife are continuously experiencing. And then, uh, really, on the horizon within the next decade, actually, our kids will be grown. You know, that's a reality. But I'm saying all that because uh, breaks are necessary. Like kids can wear on you. Okay, anybody who doesn't admit that is not a real parent, or just wait, you're better than me, whatever. Now imagine, but they're mine, and I can deal with that, and I will deal with that. I always will. But just imagine if they wasn't mine, and I'm going through uh, attitudes, puberty, periods, and they're not mine. I don't know. I gotta really love that woman. I gotta really have an affection for them kids, and it's possible. I've seen it. I've seen it in my own family very closely, and I salute I salute those guys. I wouldn't dare uh, go to the extreme. You know, there's a public opinion where men will shame other men for getting in a relationship with a woman. That's not cool. Every situation is different. There's different nuances, and there are good women that, for whatever reason out there, that are on the marketplace, in the marketplace of the dating marketplace and relationship marketplace, that are single mothers, and they're worthy of being wifed up. You know, there's we make the mistake of making these general sweeping blanket statements that don't that nuance and everything doesn't apply to. But by and large, we're just talking just in general. We were talking in general, and just talk specifically for each person. Um, for it's incumbent upon them to, for each man to weigh the options and weigh the pros and the cons of being a stepfather, of taking on the responsibility of dating a woman who has children. And so, I want to just lay out a few things to just be aware of, and I'm just haven't wrote anything down. I'm just kind of freestyling. And we was having this conversation earlier, so I wanted to come in here and just kind of jump in and talk about it. It's always public part of the public opinion or public conversation about dating different women. I'm dating women with kids and baby daddies, stepfathers, everything surrounding that. So much emotion, and people get really in their feelings about it. But again, it comes down to personal preference, and that's a decision that you have to make. But if I can, if I can offer some insight, both from experience. Again, I've never been. I in my earlier years before I got married, I did seriously date a girl, a female with a child. Okay, but I wasn't looking to date. I was just, you know, and I was just going with the flow because I really liked the old girl, and the kid was a byproduct. And I don't know what I was thinking. I really don't. I didn't have any type of foresight. That's just part of being young. I don't know what I was really thinking, but it was cool. But I learned just from that short time. I learned a few things about the dynamics of when you introduce when you get introduced to a the dynamic of um, a child and, of course, the child's father, if they're involved. Um, if the father is not involved, it's a pro and a con. It's a pro because you don't have to deal with another man, a jealous man. usually they will be jealous. Sometimes you I've seen where everything's cool, right? That's ideal because the relationship is no longer. There's no reason for the man to be other than for the interest of the child. There's no reason for the man to be jealous or to be um, involved in the relationship to the extent that I have seen some men involve themselves in. So that's always a red flag. That is probably the biggest one of the biggest deterrents of a relationship with a woman who has kids is the father. That's an aspect of it because that is a dynamic that can really be the cause for a lot of problems. Can be the cause for a lot of problems, a lot of issues, and depending on well, I don't even want to go there because I have seen it turn extreme. It can get real extreme. But we won't assume that. We'll just assume that there's just little challenges that can arise. The jealousy, the just the toxic nature, and it goes both ways because when you date, when you are, um, yeah, it can go either way. So I want to just lay out a few things that men should be aware of that. So I just want to lay out a few things that every man should be aware of when they're in a relationship or entering a relationship with a woman who has children. Okay, some things to look out for, some things to just know, just in case you didn't know. Okay, take it from Unc. Okay, now I've always said, and I will maintain my opinion. It's not based on any type of empirical data or any numbers to support this, but I've always said that the best relationships, the best scenarios for a man who does decide to get into a relationship with a woman who has kids, the best scenario is for a man to enter a relationship with a boy mom. Boy moms, just from what I've seen, my observation, small sample size, not a huge sample size, but just from my observation, the ones that work out the best are when it's usually one child, and that one child is a boy. I've seen those work out. I know personally, I've seen it more than a few times. Those are the best ones. Those are the top. One child, a boy child. Just always is. Okay. Even better, depending on your stage in life, depending on your stage or their stage in life, even better if they're older. Okay. I always say probably around 14, 15. Depending on your age or her age, you might be dating an older woman or you might be older yourself to where the women in your age range will typically have older kids. That's a plus. If the kids are older, the older the kids are, the better. The closer they are to their independence, they're getting out of the house possibly. Um, the anything you have to deal with is just energy. Just energy from another human being. Being around. But you can easily navigate that. You can navigate that a lot easier with a teenager or even with a grown ass person, depending on again, depending on what stage you're finding them at. You can navigate that way easier with a teenager because they know how to get somewhere, and usually they have their own life, and so y'all's interaction probably is going to be brief for the most part. There's no need to. That's not a real urge to or a real need that's felt to like bond. Usually with a younger child, there's going to be this sense that we need to bond. There's a sense that there has to be some type of connection made. Um, and then with a younger child, especially with a younger child, that's why I would strongly urge for a man to avoid dating a girl mom, especially if she has multiple girls. Oh boy. Now I've seen it because again, my own to be uh, very transparent. My own grandfather married the man that I knew as my grandfather wasn't actually my biological grandfather. That was my mom's stepdad. But that was the man that I knew as my grandpa, my papa. He married my grandmother with 5 girls. And plus, now tell you, now that was a different day and age. For one thing, he was an exceptional man, and that was just an exceptional situation that worked out beautifully to where all of my aunties adored my grandpa, their stepfather, and they adored their father, my my real grandpa, who I got to know later on, but didn't forge that same relationship like I did with my papa, my grandma's husband. He was an exceptional man, exceptional, different time. There's always exceptions to the rule. I would strongly advise against that. I wouldn't do it. Yeah, he was an exceptional man. It was a different time. I could not and I would not step into that situation. I would not. I got 3 girls. They're mine. They came from my loins, and I know that by by the spirit, and I know that by the papers. They offer free DNA tests. Okay, get your free DNA test. I've seen a lot of men get embarrassed or get shamed because they don't want to get that free DNA test in front of their woman. I'm not that kind of guy. Hey, I'm gonna get that free DNA test. But anyway, even if I know, and I knew they were mine, but still, they didn't come out of me. But they did. But they're mine, and they're a handful, and they're a challenge. Okay, and I love them to death. I will re-emphasize that I think I'm a great dad. I know I'm a great dad, and they'll tell you as much. But uh, parenting is a challenge. Okay, parenting is a challenge, and then with girls, man. So if they weren't mine, man, come on, dog. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I couldn't, and it'd be if I did, it'd be something that would just have to be totally God ordained, to where it's just everything's just is okay. God, you're doing this. I'm not in control of this. You have those situations, but that's another story for a different day. But so the best situations are boy, mom, one child. Um, you're gonna be, and then older child, younger child, boy, mom. That can work, but it's gonna be a little bit more challenging. You're gonna have to work a little bit more harder to develop that rapport, that connection. With girls, it's even harder. Okay, because just the opposite sex. Now it can be done, and then what I always emphasize and what I practice with my own girls is that I don't do anything with them that I don't do anything, or I don't not do anything with them that I would or would not do with a boy. Um, so we go outdoors. We do outdoor activities. We do sports. I do all that with my girls. There's nothing I don't. There's nothing I would do that I would do differently with my girls that I wouldn't do with a boy, or I would do with a boy. Nothing different at all. Um, I don't. They're my babies. They're my princesses, and we had that discussion. We had that discussion the other day. How I don't refer to them as princesses. I don't, like, they're my girls, and they try to make me feel some type of way. They try to act like they felt some type of way about it, but they don't. We don't. It's just what it is. But I don't treat them. Um, I don't know. I treat them. I think fair and balanced. I was just saying. I won't go into detail, but I just treat them fair and balanced. I do give them a. I do treat them like my princesses because they deserve it. But then I'm um, very direct and coarse with them too, as well. Um, Probably that to the point that it would make someone it would surprise someone how direct and how coarse I can be with my girls, as if they were boys, right? That's what I'm trying to say. But then I do treat them like princesses because they are girls. So that balance, that'd be much harder to find that connection with girls, especially because I'm affectionate with my girls. I always joke always make the joke, and they hate it, but they love it because they know I'm crazy. But I always reference in Forrest Gump when he says Jenny's daddy was a loving man, and we know Forrest was not all there, so he didn't understand. So the inference was made, at least on the movie, that Jenny's daddy was inappropriate with the girls, and of course I'm not inappropriate with my daughters, but I'm very affectionate with them, and but they're mine. Like there's nothing crazy going on. Like hugs, kisses, and I always make that joke. Jenny's daddy was a loving man. They're like, Daddy, you're so crazy. They know I'm crazy, because yeah, but that wouldn't be as I wouldn't be affectionate. I can't be. I can't be, and I wouldn't be affectionate to the degree that I am with my daughters as I would with someone else's daughters. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't kiss them. I wouldn't hug them, grab them, and wrap them, and I wouldn't do that with someone else's girls. I wouldn't, because you always have to. That's another component of dating another man's dating a woman with kids, especially with daughters. It's another big component that you always have to be considerate of. You always have to be mindful of, no matter what. And you can be the most, like, for me, for any. Now you don't put that past anybody. Okay. Now anybody's capable of anything, but for me, I can say with full assurance that that's the furthest thing from my babies. I would never even think to harm them. Like that's I I think I think very strongly about child molesters. Okay, I think very strongly about that. I think that's probably the lowest. Like pedophiles, child molesters. I think they're the lowest of the low. I really think they should be tortured, and don't let me form strong opinions on this platform. But anyway, so that is the first thing from my mind. But that's always, whenever you're dealing with someone else's children, someone else's seed, that's something that you always have to consider. Something that you always have to be mindful of, that someone else would have that perception of inappropriate behavior, inappropriate touching and activities going on. And that's just something that I wouldn't want to deal with. I wouldn't even want that to like I don't even want that to be in the that's not with me, because these are my kids, right? But that's something that, even if it never came up, it was just something for me. I know that I would always have to be mindful of. Maybe in somewhere, somehow, somewhere there is that discussion, or at least that thought, that there could be inappropriate behavior going on. And I don't want to be involved in none of that at all. It's just something I want to avoid. So, but that's something that you have to consider, okay? That's something and it may never come up. And 95% of the time, I would imagine it wouldn't be an issue, or it wouldn't come up, and you'd be just fine. But it's still there. And for me, I'm good. It's just another reason why I wouldn't get involved with I wouldn't be a stepdaddy. I just wouldn't. And then a big thing is, of course, is finances, man. As generous as I am, anybody who knows me know I'm tight. I'm economical. I'm cheap. I'm not cheap. I'm economical. Okay, I can squeeze the green off a dollar, but I will give you my last. Literally, I will give you my last. I'm that type of person. Like I'm not that tight fisted. When it comes to other people, I'm not tight fisted. I give. That's not to brag. That's just to inspire others, and that's just one to just state the facts. About how I feel. Like, it's not even about me. It's about what I feel about money. Like, it's nothing. I don't give a about money. I don't. I want it to have it because it's a great, useful tool. part of the reason why I'm here on YouTube. Just to be honest with you, of course, and then to spread a real message, but get paid for it. But I don't give about money. I don't. So that just gives you insight as to me. Um, but with that said, as generous as I am, I still like to be economical. I'm like to be sound and prudent with my money, and it just wouldn't feel as prudent for me to be to have to allocate a part of my resources to children who aren't directly part of my legacy. Now they could, because it's all about relationships. Okay, I like for me, I am very much a part of the legacy of my grandfather, who I mentioned. Okay, even though I'm not from his lineage, I'm part of his legacy. Okay, my mother was his stepdaughter, was his daughter, and I'm her son, so I'm part of his legacy, and I will always, when I get a chance to my kids or with I always get it. We always uplift our ancestors, their names, right? So he will always be a part of me, but still, that would be that would be something that I'd struggle with contributing to the having to allocate part of my resources to kids who don't belong to me. Just to be honest with you, it just it wouldn't just feel all the way right. Maybe I'd do it if that's what I decided to do. I'd do it, but that'd be a thought. And really, it comes down to personal preference, and it really just goes down to a few things what you value. Do you value your personal your resources, okay, and how they're allocated? Because when you marry a woman who has kids by other men, a part of your resources are going to be allocated to them somehow, some way, and you have to be okay with that, or make the decision if you're not okay with that. Part of your how you move is going to be a lot more. You have to be a lot more careful and a lot more mindful to move a certain way in relation to another man, in relation to perception of improprieties and improper behaviors. These are all things that you have to be mindful of that are magnified when you are in relation to a child and their father. Okay, things that I don't have to deal with my kids. I don't have to think about none of that. Right? It's not like I don't have to worry about crossing certain lines. I mean, I don't cross. Of course, I don't cross certain lines, but lines or things that I do in my house, they're in my house, and I don't have to worry about that going outside of my house, going back to another party, and having that be interpreted another way. Okay, I don't have to worry about that, and then dealing with the possible conflict that can arise of that. Just unnecessary. Like I don't, I don't want to. I don't have to deal with another man that wants to huff and puff and want to try to, you might want to try to flex on me. Like, nah, we don't need all that. Like, I'm sitting over here boxing. I don't box over females, man. That's basically what it boiled down to. I'm boxing over a woman. And I don't do that, dog. Players don't do that. I'm too player for that, dog. Never. I will fight for the honor and the safety of my woman. Absolutely. Oh yeah, I'll do that. But just nah. Mm-mm. That's something you gotta think about, man. And you make that decision. Now, I'm not saying it can't be rewarding, man. I'm pretty sure LeBron James' mama Gloria probably brought a few men in that was like, nah, they wish they would have stuck around so they could be LeBron's stepdaddy, right? So you got those extremes, but by and large, man, I just don't see I just don't see the all the great benefits of taking on the challenge of first getting a relationship with a woman to the point where you commit marriage, civil union, whatever have you. First of all, that's a challenge, and that's a big commitment in itself, and that's going to require a lot of that's going to require a lot out of you as a man. Okay, and then tackle that on with the challenges of children, just the inherent challenges of a child, whether they're yours or not, and then have them be someone else's, and then that dynamic, that is a lot. And that has nothing to do with being a real man. Okay, women will try to shame you into being a stepdaddy, and that's foolish. You can shame the shit out of me. I don't give a damn. I will not be a stepdaddy. That's me though, and that might incite a certain type of reaction from someone, and I give two shits. But that's my personal preference. That doesn't mean I'm less of a man. I know I'm not less of a man. I don't give a damn again if somebody shames me into. I don't give a damn about someone shaming me. But that don't make. I don't look at a man that takes on the responsibility of being a stepdad. I don't look at them and say, "Oh, they're a real man." That's not the automatic thought in my mind, because that's not valid. That no, it just yeah. But anyway, so basically, it just comes down to personal preference, and just think about what you're doing. Think about what you're getting yourself into. It can be fruitful, it can be beautiful, but it can be unnecessary shit too. I've seen both. I've seen more to the latter. I've seen more to where it works out, and it's like, damn, dog. And then the kid don't even act like at the. You might have. I've seen this where a man literally practically raised these children, and then just because the relationship dissolved with the mom, amicably, not even on necessarily bad terms. Kids don't even act like they remember the father or acknowledge anything that the man did for them, all for naught. It was always like it never happened. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I deal with that. For me, but yeah. Anyway, but y'all be stepdads if y'all want to, man. Ain't no shame. No shame for me. Do what you do, cause man, I seen it work out. It can work out, but it can be dangerous too, dog. It can be very unfulfilling. But my preference, my opinion, no stepdaddies. But do what you do.